Hello traders, this is turning out to be a pretty low volume week. So there's a lot going on in the news with Greece discussions and agreements needed to be reached, and of course Ukraine and so on. So this is keeping a lot of traders out of the markets, and we're seeing this is this week's move, and we've just had a very small range just staying close to last week's range, or in fact the second half of last week. This was the push up on last Thursday, and that was non-farm payroll on Friday, and we've barely breached that range of non-farm payroll last Friday. So it's a very, very quiet week and a little tougher to trade. So it's one of the weeks where, well, particularly the indices, it's best to stay out. And one of the effects of that is you get some very violent moves. I mean, this DAX was in a very narrow range like the Dow, but it broke out with a very fierce, aggressive move to the upside and then flat lines. Okay, so let's just look. One of the most interesting charts out there is the good old pound versus the US dollar. We were on a very, very clear downtrend. You can see all tests of the 50 and this 20 EMA, 21 EMA were shorted, and then we had the last explosive move to the downside, which signaled the end of the move, and then we started to base, and then we got a sort of head and shoulders effect down here. So this was the base area off of the big 150, and here we are sitting on this monthly pivot for particularly this week, and then today we bust up. In the room we took 75 points out of it. Could have squeezed a few more, but that would involve hanging around the screens a lot more, and I didn't think it was necessary personally. So took 75 points out of the room. So what next? This is likely to come down to 153. Very little data tomorrow. It's been a pretty quiet week with just the Fed budget balance on Wednesday and UK inflation today, plus all the news. It's created an environment that has been a little harder to trade at times. And so, but if you were patient with this one and just saw this gathering in this cluster, so in this box down here, we were in this little box here, and now we appear to be ready to sit in this area here. So if we can buy a 153, I would imagine into next week we could see 155. So that's my plan for tomorrow. The rest of the market, the pound yen took a severe knock to the downside when the Bank of Japan said they wouldn't ease anymore. And so that one, I would just sit tight. I would love to see a return to 180. Not sure we're going to see it. What I suspect we might do is move sideways, sit underneath this resistance area here, move sideways, shuffle along, dip, and then push up for 185, 186. Mark Carney, the governor of the Bank of England, is saying he expects inflation to be negative in the spring and pretty flat the rest of the year, and not really see much uptick until into 2016, 2017. So I'll talk about that in a separate event and the impacts on that and the effect on certain stock sectors and so on. But for the moment, let's just stick to the charts. The euro. Again, the euro, I warned that the euro was flatlining, and at least wanted to come and test that area there. We could roll over here. I suspect we're going to flatline and potentially move up to the 115 again before possibly rolling over and testing 110, but in the meantime I think that is not a good one to trade, and I would just steer clear of that and just concentrate on the pound. US dollar CAD. Now this is something of a short signal here, because this is a new high in this little range and then a close below. So we are in quite a nice box up there. I think that's hard to call. I mean, this is something of a reversal bar here that we've now fallen down from. So I think we might come down to, might want to come down here to this 20 EMA, wait for that to catch up, and then push back to the highs. But yeah, that's very expensive at the moment, and I would sit tight. And with a potential little uptick in the oil, which we'll look at shortly, that one is to be avoided. So my message to you is be very, very careful with these markets, and my focus is on the pound US dollar. I think the dollar strength has lasted for a good 9 months, and we are seeing a cyclical pullback in the dollar and a resurgence in the pound. Okay, this was an interesting chart. Yeah, again, we were in a big box in this US dollar yen, popped up into monthly R1, and here we are. Obviously, I mean, these markets aren't closed yet, so you've got to look at these charts with a degree of caution and check your own charts when we open tomorrow. But I suspect we might want to come back in this box and potentially even sit down here at 117 again. Let me clean the chart up. Sometimes if you let your charts get too messy, you can just lose the story, lose the clarity. Yeah, so I think the monthly pivot here, 118, would be interesting. If we come down to a full retest to 118, I would want to see where that is going to hang out. But like I said, I'm sticking to the pound US dollar, particularly into the weekend, and then I will do my usual analysis next at the weekend and look at the weekly and daily charts. Alright, so happy trading. Stay alert, and your feedback will be welcome. Have a look at the video I posted with today's live trade, and see what you think. Okay, thanks very much, and bye.